I've built and sold over $30,000 worth of custom voice solutions for clients and automated more than 50,000 calls across multiple different industries. Today, I'll show you exactly how to build a voice agent call directory where it's able to transfer calls to certain departments based on the inquiry of the call itself. So whether there's like 2 departments, 5 departments, or 10 departments, it's able to do that. And I also take it one step further by showing you how you could also transfer the call to a specific staff member under each department. So that way, if there's a more specific use case that only certain staff members could handle, the voice agent's able to transfer the call to that specific person. So very simple. You also get the templates of each of these voice agents and how you can set it up for your call, whether you want to set up a call directory for your agent as well. You can just download it in the description. It's free. Just download it, upload it to your Retell account, and you can use it. So just to quickly understand what we're building today, the 3 levels, which is very simple. The first one is obviously just a single destination call transfer. Whenever this could be whenever like a human is very frustrated, they don't want to speak to an AI, like, they get angry or like a client or whatever, right? You want to transfer the call to a human. So this could be just one single phone number, right? This could be like a front desk, the owner, a main line or whatever, right? So how the process works is just there's a caller that goes into the voice agent picks up the call. They want to transfer the call, it uses the call transfer tool, and then it sends it to the recipient that's picking it up. So it could be something like this, right? I want to speak to a human. It detects the intent is to get a human transfer. It forwards the call to the main phone number, the phone line, and that could be the front desk, owner, or main line. So this is an example phone number here. It's not real, so don't try to call that number. And then the next level to that is when we talk about multiple different departments, right? So here, the only change is this bit here where we have a routing logic that we added in. So now, based on the intent of the call, let's say the call is about sales. They want to ask about certain products that the company is selling. They want to ask more about the prices and all that kind of stuff. It first has this routing logic, which will explain and prompt it properly such that it knows how to detect the correct intention based on the inquiry and then routes it to the right department. So for example, if let's say the call is about payments not working or has something to do with some billing issue, the voice agent would need to understand that as a billing issue that's handled by the billing department. So then the routing logic will handle that and it routes it to the billing department right here. So the main thing that's the most important is this routing logic, which I'll show you how to explain that in the prompt, and then how you can properly route those into the right departments. So we can have example departments here, and example numbers right here. And then the last one, which is the more complex one. So this is, let's say you run a business that has hundreds of different employees, and assuming you have each department having, say, 5 representatives that's able to pick calls. Now, this is more advanced because now when there are a higher number of employees involved, typically what happens is each employee could have a more specialized role in what issue they could handle. So in this use case, we want to basically explain what each department does. And on top of that, we want to explain for every single employee that's in this department, what do they handle specifically. So let's talk about, let's say, billing department. There's Emma, Jack, and Jessica, right? So Emma could be specialized in handling invoices, for example. And then Jack could be specialized in issuing invoices or like any issues with invoices and all that kind of stuff, right? So if we explain it in as much detail as possible in the routing logic, it knows specifically to route to Jack or route to Emma. Or let's say it's like a sales department and Ben is responsible for providing quotes for certain products or stuff like that. We want to explain everything all inside the routing logic, which I'll show you how to do that. But this is the kind of the idea of how this logic works and how the voice agent was able to understand based on the use case, based on the inquiry, who do we route it to. So just to give you an idea, it could be something like this, where each department has their own phone number for each employee. But if there is also like a general phone number for each department, we could also add that in as well. But in this case, I just added like the employee and their numbers itself. So now that we understand kind of the theory behind how we could set this up, I'll show you how we could set it up in Retell itself. and it's all built in the conversation flow. It's the most simple one, but you can obviously build this out in like a single prompt agent, a multi-prompt agent, and it's kind of the same idea. So for the sake of this video, I came out with a fictional and example company, which is a solar company. And you can kind of read through the global prompt here. So you are Bright AI phone assistant for Bright Path Solar. So this is solar company, answer inbound calls. And this is just some basic prompting for like tone and personality stuff. So now we have like a welcome note, and this is something very, very simple. This is just level 1. So this is where we explain how it could just immediately transfer the call as soon as someone wants to speak to a human. So very simple, nothing special here. I just want to make sure and show you exactly like this demo of how it transfers the call. So whenever the user wants to speak to a human, we transfer the call, and we have an example phone number here. This is not real, but I'll show you how that works, right? And then there's the on-hold music that we can put, like a relaxing sound or something like that. So I'm just gonna give this a quick publish. So I'm gonna make a call to myself, to the voice agent here, and just kind of show you that demo of how it's able to transfer the call.
Hi, thanks for calling Bright Path Solar. This is Bright, the virtual assistant. How can I help?
Hi, can I just speak to a human? Okay, so you can see now it has that ringing feature when it's transferring the call. So if you look into the call history here, you could see that, yep, it's this one. We have a call transfer that's been done, and you can see it's transferred to that sample phone number itself, right? So that's the most basic way you could transfer the call. So yeah, that's the simplest, easiest way to set it up. And now we can show you, I'm going to show you how we can do something like a multi-department directory and what's different and how we can set this up as well. So that's a level 2 agent here. Most of it is very similar, right? The way we transfer calls and everything, that is very similar. The only thing now is that we have explanation for the routing logic, right? So you can see the build is essentially the same thing, right? The global prompt is exactly the same. There's nothing different, except that now we have this extra bit where we explain that your main job is to identify the intent, whether it's the sales, support, billing, and then hand it off smoothly. So we can add something like this very quickly to your global prompt. And then if you look into this welcoming node, we explain a bit more about what the purpose of this node is. So in this case here, we explained, we start off with the greeting. And then after you greet the caller, we want to try to interpret, right? So the goal of this node is to determine which department they should be connected to. And then we explain. So in the sales department, this could be new inquiries, quotes, or consultations. And some common phrases indicate the sales intent, which is something like get a quote, interested in installing solar, tell me more about the pricing, I want someone to talk to me about switching to solar and all that kind of stuff. And then support, this could be existing customers, any technical issues that you have. So like my panels are not working, I need help with my system, inverter is not showing an error and all that kind of stuff. So that is some support shit. And then we have support. So support could be things like for any existing customers or if any technical issues that they need help with. And some common phrases could include like panels are not working, inverter is not showing an error and stuff like that. And then billing departments, anything that has to do with payments, invoices, and refunds. So I need things like I need to pay my bill, I have a question about my invoice, I was charged incorrectly, and stuff like that. So at least now the agent knows that which department handles what. And once we identify the intent correctly, this next node where we transfer the call would properly route it to that department. So you could see now we are using a dynamic routing instead of a static destination. So now we have 3 different phone numbers that we could transfer to. So here we explain that sales department is this number, support department is this number, and billing department. And then likewise, everything else stays the same. We have a warm transfer. We can put on some relaxing sounds or any uplifting bits, or up to you. And yeah, that's basically it. And just to give you a quick demo, let me just publish this into one of my phone numbers here. So the ideal use case is that you want to explain in as much detail as possible what each department does so that the voice agent knows exactly how and who to transfer to. Okay, so I actually added one extra note before we transfer the call where we say something like, please hold for a moment while I transfer you to the right department. Because before this, it was just transferring it straight away. So just going to show you a quick call here.
Hi, thanks for calling Bright Path Solar. This is Bright, the virtual assistant. How can I help you today?
Hi, yeah, so I just want to learn a bit more about solar panels and I want to try to install them for my house. Could you tell me?
Please hold for a moment while I transfer you to the right department.
So now it's transferring the call. And just to confirm that it's properly transferred to the right department. So you could see if I click on the transfer call, you could see the phone number that's correct, which is the sales department. It ends with 0122. So if we check the call history, it should be able to transfer to that right number there. So this is the phone number that it's transferring to. Yep. So we have the phone number here. It ends with 0122. So we know that's the correct department, which is the sales department. So this is essentially how you set it up. So the more detail you provide with in the routing knowledge, the logic, the more accurate it would be in terms of routing to the right department. And now for the last one, which is the most complex one, now we're looking at how we can transfer it not only to the specific department, but also its individual staff members based on the query. And now it's able to transfer to that as well, and on top of the department. So in Retell, likewise, let me just quickly add that note because I didn't add that here. Okay, so I just added this thing here. Now, the difference between this and the previous one for level 2 is that now we explain also what each staff member does, right? So the welcome note is just the greeting here. The call routing note is where we explain everything. So everything else mainly is the same. And we have things like sales department, all of these things are the same, support department, billing department. Now we add these section here. So if the caller mentions only the department without a specific name, transfer the call to the department's phone number. But if the caller mentions a specific staff member, transfer the call to that specific person's phone number. So now it knows that if the caller wants to speak to someone specifically, it knows who to transfer to. Otherwise, it transfers to the department. And then just to confirm, if it's unclear, I want to confirm, is this about sales, support, or billing? Do you want to reach to a specific person? Just a bit of fallback stuff. And then here we also have this thing, which is more important. If you have specific use cases, responsibilities for each staff. So here we got sales department. John, he does commercial solar projects, multi-property installations, partnership proposals. Mia handles solar quotes, roof assessments. Ben, new leads, outreach programs. Right, we want to explain as detailed as possible what each employee does. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to test it out to see if it's able to transfer to the right person. If we let's say be more specific, right? So you can see some examples here. If the customer says something like, I was working with Mia, it knows to transfer to Mia from the sales department. So we could try to test it out with certain phrases like that. And assuming, let's say we want to talk to, let's see, Emma Collins. So answers payment methods and plan setup questions and stuff like that. So we'll give it a quick test call to see if we can get transferred to Emma because she was handling our accounts and all the payment stuff. So let's try that.
Hi, thanks for calling Bright Path Solar. This is Bright, the virtual assistant. How can I help you today?
Hi, so I was speaking to Emma the other day and I wanted to see if I could speak to her about my accounts.
Please hold while I get you to the right person.
So let's go into our call history and see if that works. Right here. So the user requested to speak to Emma and we go into the transfer call. We could see that this is the phone number that it transferred to. We just copy and paste that there. So let's just try to confirm if that's the correct number. Go back to agents, level 3, right here. And then if you go into the transfer call node, you will see that in the dynamic routing, it properly transferred to Emma because that's the phone number here. So right here. So that's basically it. If you have more staff members that you want to include as well, any more employees you want to add in as well, all you have to do is just add in more descriptions in the call routing node and explain the logic behind who is responsible for what. And so that's that. And then the department is where you have these examples. Feel free to modify this, add in some examples that's suited to your business. That's that. And then, yeah, that's basically it, right? Everything else remains the same. Add in some logic on the things we want to say before we transfer the call. And when we transfer the call, one thing you also add is what happens when the transfer call is failed. If it's failed, it fails to transfer, the person is not available, you can add some fallback and collect information. Typically what I do is I'll add a fallback node where we could get a note from what the customer wants to say. So a short message is fine, and then send like an internal email to your staff member or to that specific person itself. So if they have like emails for each employee, it could send emails to that employee with information about this call if they're not available. Or you could also add like a fallback where it transfers to the next available person if the first person is not available. But yeah, there's a lot more logic that goes behind this. If you want another video about that, I could make another video. Just let me know in the comments, and then yeah, I'll have all of these templates saved as well, which you could download in the description. Other than that, everything else is done. If you have any questions, just feel free to send me an email, drop a comment and stuff like that, and I'll try to address it as soon as possible. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.